Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple penny, only to discover it could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. It sounds unbelievable, but for some collectors, that moment has actually happened. And today, we're uncovering the story behind one of those seemingly ordinary coins that might be hiding extraordinary value. The 1960D Mint Mark Lincoln Penny. At first glance, the 1960D Lincoln Penny looks just like any other copper coin you've seen. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that has been part of American currency since 1909. On the back, you'll find the classic wheat ears design that many collectors instantly recognize. But what makes this coin interesting is not just its appearance. It's the story behind how it was made, the small variations that occurred during production, and the surprising details that can turn a 1-cent coin into something far more valuable. To understand this coin, we need to go back to the year 1960. America was in a period of change and growth. The economy was expanding, and the demand for coins was increasing. The U.S. Mint was working hard to produce enough currency to keep up with everyday transactions. That year, millions of pennies were struck at the Denver Mint, which is why you see the small D mint mark just below the date on these coins. But here's where things get interesting. In 1960, the U.S. Mint made a subtle but important change to the design of the Lincoln penny. That year, two different styles of the date were produced, what collectors now call the large date and the small date. This wasn't planned as a collectible feature. It happened because of adjustments in the minting process, likely related to how the dies were prepared and replaced during production. If you look closely at a 1960D penny, you might notice differences in the size and shape of the numbers in the date. The large date version has thicker, more prominent numbers, while the small date version has slimmer, more delicate digits. The numbers 6 and 0 are especially helpful for spotting the difference. In the small date, the 6 appears more slender, and the 0 is more perfectly round. Now, you might be wondering, why does this matter? After all, it's still just a penny, right? Well, in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest detail can make a big difference. The 1960D small date penny is much harder to find than the large date version. Fewer were produced, and over time, many have been lost, damaged, or simply overlooked. But that's not the only thing that adds value to these coins. Condition plays a huge role. A 1960D penny that has been heavily used, scratched, or worn down will usually only be worth a few cents. But if you find one in near-perfect condition, with sharp details and a bright, original surface, the value can increase significantly. Even more exciting are the rare error coins from this year. During the minting process, mistakes can happen. These errors are often caught and corrected quickly, but a few slip through and enter circulation. For the 1960D penny, collectors have discovered examples with repunched mint marks, where the D appears slightly doubled. There are also coins with die cracks, off-center strikes, and other unusual features. These errors are highly sought after because they are unique. No two error coins are exactly the same, which makes them especially appealing to collectors who are always looking for something rare and different. Over the years, some 1960D pennies have sold for impressive prices. While most are still worth only a small amount, certain high-grade examples have reached hundreds of dollars at auction. Coins that are graded as mint state, meaning they show no signs of wear, are the most valuable. A well-preserved small date version, especially with strong color and sharp details, can easily attract serious interest from collectors. There have even been cases where rare error versions of the 1960D penny have sold for much higher amounts. These sales don't happen every day, but they show just how valuable a simple penny can become when the right combination of rarity, condition, and demand comes together. So how can you tell if you have a valuable 1960D penny? The first step is to examine the coin carefully. Look at the date and determine whether it's a large date or small date. Pay close attention to the shape of the numbers. Next, check the mint mark. Make sure the D is clear and properly positioned. Then, take a close look at the overall condition. Are the details sharp, especially in Lincoln's hair and the wheat ears on the reverse? Is the surface clean and free from major scratches or discoloration? Coins with original red color, rather than brown or faded tones, are often more valuable. It's also important to watch out for counterfeit coins. While fake 1960D pennies are not extremely common, altered coins do exist. Some people try to add a fake mint mark to a Philadelphia coin, which originally has no mint mark. Using a magnifying glass can help you spot inconsistencies, such as a mint mark that looks uneven or out of place. If you believe you have a rare or valuable coin, it's a good idea to have it professionally evaluated. Coin grading services can confirm authenticity and assign a grade, which helps determine the coin's market value. One of the most fascinating things about the 1960 Lincoln penny is how it connects everyday life with hidden history. Millions of these coins were used in daily transactions. They passed through countless hands, from grocery stores to vending machines, often without anyone giving them a second thought. Yet among those millions, a few special pieces quietly carried unique features that would later capture the attention of collectors. There are also some fun and surprising details about this coin. For example, many people don't realize that pennies from this era are made mostly of copper, unlike modern pennies, which contain more zinc. This gives older coins a richer color and a slightly heavier feel. Some collectors even enjoy searching through rolls of pennies just to find older copper coins like the 1960. Another interesting fact is that the Lincoln penny itself was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. Before 1909, American coins typically displayed symbolic figures rather than historical individuals. The introduction of Lincoln's portrait marked a major shift in coin design, making the penny not just a piece of currency, but also a tribute to one of the nation's most important figures. Today, collectors continue to be drawn to the 1960 penny for its combination of history, variety, and potential value. It's a reminder that even the smallest and most common objects can hold hidden stories. For beginners, it's an accessible entry point into the world of coin collecting. And for experienced collectors, it's a piece that still offers the thrill of discovery. What makes this coin truly special is the idea that it could still be out there, waiting to be found. Unlike rare coins that are locked away in collections or museums, the 1960 penny was produced in such large numbers that it still appears in circulation from time to time. That means anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon one. So the next time you receive change, take a closer look. That ordinary penny might not be so ordinary after all. Could be a small date variety, a high-grade survivor, or even a rare error coin. And if it is, you might be holding a small piece of history that's worth far more than 1 cent. In the end, the story of the 1960 Lincoln penny is not just about money. It's about curiosity, attention to detail, and the excitement of discovering something unexpected. It shows us that value isn't always obvious at first glance. Sometimes you have to look a little closer to see what's really there. And who knows? The next incredible find might already be sitting in your pocket, just waiting for you to notice it. Welcome back. Imagine finding a simple penny in your pocket, only to discover it could be worth far more than 1 cent. What if that small copper coin from 1964, with a tiny D mark on it, is hiding a story of history, transition, and surprising value that most people completely overlook? Today, we're diving into the 1964 D mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance, but carries a fascinating place in American coin history. The 1964 D Lincoln penny was produced at the Denver Mint, which is what the small d below the date represents. At the time, the United States was going through a major shift in coin production. Rising silver prices were causing changes across the entire coin system. While pennies were not made of silver, the pressure on the mint to produce coins quickly and in large quantities affected how all coins were made, including this one. This penny still features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that had been in use since 1909. On the back, you'll see the familiar wheat ears had already been replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design, which had been introduced in 1959. That means this coin carries a more modern look compared to earlier wheat pennies, but still holds that traditional American-style collectors love. Now here's where it gets interesting. In 1964, the mint produced billions of pennies to keep up with demand. That might make you think this coin is extremely common, and in many cases it is. But hidden within those billions are rare varieties, errors, and high-quality examples that can be worth far more than face value. Let's talk about what makes this coin unique. The 1964 D penny is made primarily of copper, about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It has a rich reddish tone when in excellent condition, often referred to as red by collectors. Over time, many of these coins turn brown due to oxidation, so finding one that still has that original red shine can significantly increase its value. The design itself is simple but meaningful. Abraham Lincoln's profile faces right, with the words "In God We Trust" above, Liberty on the left, and the date with the D mint mark on the right. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall, and if you look closely, you can even see a tiny image of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. It's a small detail that many people miss, but collectors appreciate. Now let's get into the real reason people are so interested in this coin: its potential value. While most 1964 D pennies are only worth a few cents, certain versions can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. One of the key factors is condition. Coins that were never circulated, meaning they were never used in everyday transactions, can be graded as mint state. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. A bright red 1964 D penny in near-perfect condition can sell for hundreds of dollars at auction. But condition is only part of the story. Errors and varieties are where things get truly exciting. Some 1964 D pennies were struck with double dies, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process. These doubling effects are often visible in the lettering or numbers and can significantly increase the coin's value. There are also repunched mint marks, where the D was stamped more than once in slightly different positions. These small details might be hard to see at first, but collectors actively search for them because they make each coin unique. In rare cases, coins from this era have been found with off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or other minting errors. These unusual features can turn an ordinary penny into a highly collectible piece. Let's talk about real-world value examples. A typical circulated 1964 D penny might be worth just a few cents to $1. But an uncirculated red example with a high grade can sell for $20, $50, or even over $100 depending on its quality. Now, if you add a rare error into the mix, the value can jump dramatically. Some error coins have sold for several $100s, and in exceptional cases, even more. The combination of condition, rarity, and demand is what drives these prices. So how do you know if you have a valuable one? First, check the date and mint mark. Look for 1964 with a small d just below the date. Next, examine the color. Coins that still have a bright red appearance are more desirable than brown ones. Then, take a closer look at the details. Use a magnifying glass if possible. Check the lettering and numbers for any signs of doubling. Look at the mint mark to see if it appears slightly doubled or misaligned. Also, inspect the edges and overall shape of the coin for anything unusual. Weight and size can also help confirm authenticity. A standard 1964 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams and have a diameter of 19 millimeters. If something feels off, it's worth investigating further. Be cautious of fakes or altered coins. Some people try to modify coins to make them look like rare errors. For example, they might add a fake mint mark or alter the surface. That's why it's important to compare your coin with verified examples or have it evaluated by a professional grading service if you believe it might be valuable. Here's a fun detail many people don't realize. The 1964 penny comes from the last full year before major changes in U.S. coin composition. Just a year later, in 1965, the mint began removing silver from dimes and quarters. This makes 1964 an important transition year in American coinage history, even for coins like the penny that didn't contain silver. Another interesting fact is how widely these coins were circulated. Because so many were produced, they were used in everyday transactions across the country. That means there's a chance some people still have them sitting in jars, drawers, or old collections without realizing their potential value. Collectors love the 1964 D Lincoln penny for several reasons. It represents a moment in time when the U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce massive quantities of coins. It offers a wide range of conditions and varieties, making it accessible for beginners while still exciting for experienced collectors. And it carries the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most recognized figures in American history. There's also the thrill of the hunt. Because these pennies are so common, many people overlook them. But that's exactly what makes finding a rare or high-quality example so rewarding. It's like discovering a hidden treasure in plain sight. Over the years, interest in coin collecting has continued to grow, and coins like the 1964 D penny remain a favorite starting point. They're affordable, easy to find, and full of possibilities. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone curious about the coins in your pocket, this penny offers a fascinating glimpse into history. So the next time you come across a 1964 penny with a small D mark, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Check the color, the details, and the condition, because hidden within that simple coin could be a story worth far more than 1 cent, and who knows? The next valuable discovery might already be in your hands, waiting to be noticed. Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and discovering it might be worth far more than 1 cent. Not because it's made of gold, not because it looks different at first glance, but because of the hidden story behind it. Today, we're diving into the 1973 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that millions of people have seen, but very few truly understand. The 1973 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those coins that often gets overlooked. At first glance, it looks like any other penny you might find in loose change. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But what makes this coin interesting is not what stands out, but what doesn't. The missing mint mark is what draws attention and sparks curiosity among collectors and everyday people alike. To understand this coin, we need to go back to 1973. The United States Mint was producing billions of pennies each year to keep up with demand. At that time, pennies were still made primarily from copper, giving them that rich, warm color many people recognize instantly. In 1973, pennies were minted in 3 main locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver carried a small D mint mark, while those from San Francisco typically had an S. But coins produced in Philadelphia did not carry any mint mark at all. So when you see a 1973 penny without a mint mark, it simply means it was made in Philadelphia. This is where many people get confused. They assume that no mint mark automatically means rare or valuable. In reality, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 3 billion pennies in 1973 alone. That's an enormous number, making most of these coins very common. But here's where things get interesting. Even though the majority of 1973 no mint mark pennies are common, certain versions and conditions of this coin can be surprisingly valuable. It all comes down to details that are easy to miss unless you know exactly what to look for. Let's talk about the design first. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln facing to the right. Above his head is the word liberty, and in front of him is the phrase, "In God we trust." Just below the date 1973, you'll notice the absence of any mint mark, which confirms it came from Philadelphia. On the back, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The coin is made mostly of copper, about 95%, with a small amount of zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams and has a smooth edge. These details might seem ordinary, but they are important when identifying genuine coins. Now, let's explore what makes some of these pennies valuable. The key factor is condition. Most 1973 pennies you find today are worn from years of circulation. They might have scratches, faded details, or a dull appearance. These coins are usually worth only a few cents. However, if you come across a 1973 no mint mark penny in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used in everyday transactions, its value can increase significantly. Coins that still have their original shine, known as mint luster, and show no signs of wear are highly sought after by collectors. There's also something called red pennies. When copper coins are freshly minted, they have a bright reddish color. Over time, they turn brown as they are exposed to air and handling. A 1973 penny that has retained its original red color is much more valuable than one that has turned brown. But the real excitement comes from errors. Minting errors can turn an ordinary coin into something truly special. For the 1973 no mint mark penny, collectors look for errors such as double die strikes, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws. A double die error occurs when the design is accidentally stamped twice, creating a noticeable doubling effect on the letters or numbers. These errors are rare, and that rarity is what drives up their value. A normal 1973 penny might be worth a few cents, but an error coin in excellent condition could sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity and visibility of the mistake. There have been real examples of this. Some high-grade 1973 no-mint mark pennies, especially those graded by professional coin grading services, have sold for over $100. In exceptional cases, coins with strong red color and near-perfect condition have reached even higher prices at auctions. Error coins, particularly those with clear doubling, have been known to attract serious attention from collectors willing to pay a premium. So, how can you tell if you have a valuable 1973 penny? Start by examining the coin closely. Look at the surface under good lighting. Check for any unusual features, such as doubling in the letters or numbers. Pay attention to the color. Is it still bright red, or has it turned brown? Next, consider the condition. Are the details sharp and clear, or are they worn down? You should also weigh the coin if possible. A standard 1973 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If the weight is significantly off, it could indicate a different composition or a potential error. However, always be cautious. Not every unusual coin is valuable, and sometimes damage can be mistaken for a mint error. Another important step is authentication. If you believe you have a rare or valuable coin, consider having it evaluated by a professional grading service. These experts can confirm whether the coin is genuine and assign it a grade based on its condition. This grading can significantly impact the coin's value and make it easier to sell if you choose to do so. There are also a few fun facts about the 1973 penny that many people don't know. For example, 1973 was part of a period when the United States was still using mostly copper for pennies, just before the major shift to zinc in the early 1980s. This makes coins from this era particularly appealing to collectors who prefer the classic copper look and feel. Another interesting detail is that billions of these coins were made, yet finding one in perfect condition today is surprisingly difficult. Over time, most have been used, damaged, or lost, which means high-quality examples are much rarer than the original mintage numbers suggest. Collectors love the 1973 no-mint mark penny not because it is rare in general, but because it offers the thrill of discovery. It's a coin that almost anyone can find, yet it holds the possibility of hidden value. That combination of accessibility and potential makes it exciting. There's also a sense of history attached to it. Every one of these pennies has passed through countless hands, been part of everyday transactions, and witnessed decades of change. Holding one is like holding a small piece of the past. As we wrap up, think about this the next time you come across a penny. What if that small, seemingly insignificant coin is more than it appears? What if it carries a hidden detail that could turn it into something special? The 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny reminds us that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes, it takes a closer look, a bit of knowledge, and a sense of curiosity to uncover what's really there. And who knows, the next time you check your pocket change, you might just find a coin that tells a story worth far more than 1 cent. Welcome back. Imagine finding a simple penny in your pocket, and later discovering it could be worth far more than 1 cent. It sounds unlikely, but coins have a way of hiding surprising stories. Today, we're uncovering the truth about the 1979 D-Mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of people have seen, but very few truly understand. The 1979 D Lincoln penny is a small copper-colored coin that was produced at the Denver Mint, which is what the D-Mint mark represents. At first glance, it looks just like any other penny from the late 1970s. It features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Many people overlook it because it feels so common. But as you'll see, even an ordinary-looking coin can carry hidden value and fascinating details. To understand this coin, we need to step back into 1979. The United States was going through a time of economic change. Inflation was rising, and the cost of producing coins was becoming a concern for the government. Pennies were still made primarily of copper, unlike today's pennies, which are mostly zinc. The Denver Mint produced billions of pennies that year to keep up with circulation demand. In fact, the total mintage of the 1979 D penny exceeded 4 billion coins. That number alone makes it seem like this coin should be completely ordinary and nearly worthless. But here's where things get interesting. Even among billions of coins, Small variations, errors, and condition differences can turn an everyday penny into something collectors are willing to pay real money for. The design of the 1979 D Lincoln penny follows the classic Lincoln cent style introduced in 1959. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's profile, a design created by Victor David Brenner back in 1909. Above his head is the word Liberty, and in front of his face is the year 1979. Just below the year, you'll find the small D mint mark, showing it was struck in Denver. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial stands proudly, with the words United States of America and 1 cent. The coin is made mostly of copper, about 95%, with a small amount of tin and zinc. This gives it that rich, warm color that many collectors love. But over time, exposure to air and handling can change that color, turning it darker or even brown. Now let's talk about what makes some of these coins special. Even though most 1979 D pennies are only worth face value, certain versions can be worth significantly more. The biggest factor is condition. Coins that have never been used in circulation, known as mint state coins, can be surprisingly valuable. A 1979 D penny in average condition might be worth just 1 cent, but in high-grade mint condition it can sell for several dollars or more. But condition is only part of the story. Errors are where things really get exciting. During the minting process, mistakes can happen. These mistakes are not supposed to exist, which is exactly why collectors love them. One example is a double die error, where parts of the design appear slightly duplicated. This can show up in the lettering or numbers. Another type of error is an off-center strike, where the coin's design is not properly aligned. There are also cases of die cracks, where small lines appear on the coin due to damage in the minting equipment. While these errors are rare, they do exist. And when collectors find them, they can be worth much more than a normal coin. Some error versions of the 1979 D penny have sold for tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on how noticeable and unique the error is. Let's look at real-world value examples. A typical circulated 1979 D penny is still worth just 1 cent. But a bright, uncirculated coin graded at MS65 might sell for around $5 to $15. Higher grade examples, such as MS67, can reach $50 or more. And if you add a rare mint error into the mix, the price can jump significantly. Some error coins have been listed or sold in the range of $100 to $300, especially if the error is clear and well preserved. This might not sound like life-changing money, but remember, these coins are still out there in circulation or hidden in old jars and collections. That's what makes the hunt so exciting. Now you might be wondering how to tell if your 1979 D penny is real or valuable. First, check the mint mark. The D should be clearly visible below the year. Next, examine the coin's condition. Is it shiny and clean, or worn and scratched? Coins with fewer marks and better detail are always more valuable. You should also look closely for errors. Use a magnifying glass if possible. Check the letters in Liberty and the numbers in 1979 for any signs of doubling. Look at the edges and overall alignment of the design. If something looks unusual or different, it might be worth getting the coin evaluated by a professional grading service. Another important detail is weight. A genuine 1979 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If the weight is significantly different, it could indicate damage, alteration, or in rare cases, a minting anomaly. There are also counterfeit coins in the market, although they are less common for pennies compared to higher value coins. Still, it's always a good idea to be cautious. If you believe you have a valuable coin, consider having it authenticated. Here's a fun fact that surprises many people. Even though billions of 1979 D pennies were made, very few have survived in perfect condition. Most were used in everyday transactions, passed from hand to hand, and eventually worn down. That means truly high-quality examples are much rarer than the mintage number suggests. Another interesting detail is that the Lincoln Memorial on the back actually includes a tiny image of Lincoln sitting inside the building. It's incredibly small, but if you look closely, you can see it. This level of detail is part of what makes these coins so fascinating. Collectors today still love the 1979 D Lincoln penny, not because it's the rarest coin ever made, but because it represents a piece of everyday American history. It's a reminder of a time when copper pennies were still the standard, and when even the smallest denomination carried real value in daily life. For beginners, this coin is a great entry point into the world of coin collecting. It's affordable, easy to find, and full of learning opportunities. For experienced collectors, it offers the challenge of finding high-grade examples or rare errors hidden among billions of ordinary coins. What makes this penny truly special is the idea that something so small and common can still hold hidden value. It teaches us to look closer, to pay attention, and to never underestimate the objects we encounter every day. So the next time you come across a 1979 D Lincoln penny, don't ignore it. Take a moment to examine it. Check the details, look for anything unusual, and consider its condition. Because in the world of coin collecting, even the most ordinary coin can turn out to be an extraordinary find. And who knows, the next penny you pick up might just be the one that changes the way you see coins forever. Welcome back. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1985, something many people wouldn't even bother picking up off the ground, could quietly hold more value than you ever imagined? Not because it looks different at first glance, but because of the hidden details most people completely overlook. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1985 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of Americans have handled, spent, or ignored, yet one that still sparks curiosity among collectors who know what to look for. The 1985 D Lincoln penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which is why you'll find the small D mint mark just below the date on the front of the coin. At the time, the United States was producing billions of pennies each year, and 1985 was no exception. In fact, over 5 billion of these coins were made in Denver alone. That might sound like it eliminates any chance of rarity, but as you'll soon discover, numbers don't always tell the full story. This coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that has been part of American coinage since 1909. The image shows Lincoln facing right, calm and dignified, with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date along with the D Mint mark to the right. On the back, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used from 1959 until 2008. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial, a detail many people miss entirely. By 1985, the composition of the penny had already changed from its earlier copper form. Before 1982, pennies were made mostly of copper, but rising metal costs forced the U.S. Mint to switch materials. So the 1985 penny is made primarily of zinc, with a thin copper coating. It still looks like a classic copper coin, but inside, it's mostly zinc. This change makes the coin lighter than older pennies, weighing about 2.5 grams instead of the earlier 3.11 grams. Now, here's where things start to get interesting. Even though billions of these coins were produced, not all of them came out perfectly. In fact, some of the most valuable 1985 D pennies are those that show errors or unusual characteristics. These mistakes happen during the minting process, and they can turn an ordinary coin into something collectors are willing to pay serious money for. One of the most talked about errors for this coin is the double die variety. This happens when the coin is struck with a die that has a slight misalignment, causing certain details, like letters or numbers, to appear doubled. On a 1985 D penny, this might show up in the date or in the word Liberty. To the untrained eye, it can be subtle, but to a collector, it's a sign that the coin is far from ordinary. Another type of error to look for is off-center strikes. This happens when the coin blank isn't properly aligned during minting, resulting in a design that's shifted to one side. The more off-center the strike, the more unusual and collectible the coin can become. Some of these error coins look dramatic, with part of the design completely missing. There are also die cracks and cuts, which occur when the minting dies begin to wear out or break. These can leave raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. Again, these aren't flaws in the eyes of collectors. They're unique features that make each coin different, so why would anyone care about a penny like this? After all, it's still just 1 cent, right? The truth is, collectors aren't just buying coins for their face value. They're buying history, rarity, and uniqueness. And when a coin has a story behind it, especially one tied to a minting error or a rare condition, its value can increase significantly. Let's talk about real numbers. A standard 1985 D penny in average circulated condition is usually worth only a few cents. But when you move into uncirculated condition, where the coin has never been used in everyday transactions, the value can jump to a few dollars. especially if the coin has strong luster and sharp details. Now, if you add a mint error into the mix, things can change quickly. Some 1985 D pennies with clear double die features or striking errors have sold for anywhere from $50 to several $100s, depending on the quality and visibility of the error. And in rare cases, coins in near-perfect condition, graded by professional services, have reached even higher values. This brings us to an important point. Condition matters. Collectors use a grading system to determine how well-preserved a coin is. A coin that looks brand new with no scratches or wear is far more valuable than one that has been heavily used. Even small differences in condition can mean a big difference in price. But how do you know if you have a real 1985 D penny that might be worth something? The first step is to check the basics. Look at the date and make sure it clearly reads 1985. Then find the D mint mark under the date. If there's no mint mark, it means the coin was made in Philadelphia, which is a different category altogether. Next, examine the coin closely. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Look for any signs of doubling in the letters or numbers. Check if the design is centered properly. Look for unusual marks that seem raised rather than scratched. These could be signs of a minting error. Also, pay attention to the coin's color and surface. A genuine 1985 penny should have a copper appearance, even though it's mostly zinc inside. If the coin looks unusually dull, discolored, or damaged, it may not have much value to collectors. One important thing to remember is that cleaning a coin can actually reduce its value. Many people think they can make a coin more valuable by polishing it, but collectors prefer coins in their natural state. Cleaning can leave tiny scratches that are easy to spot and can lower the coin's grade. Here's a fun fact that surprises a lot of people. Even though the 1985 D penny isn't considered rare in the traditional sense, the sheer number of coins produced means there are still undiscovered error coins out there. That means it's entirely possible that valuable pieces are sitting in jars, drawers, or old coin collections, waiting to be noticed. Another interesting detail is how these coins connect to everyday life in the 1980s. In 1985, the United States was going through a period of economic growth, and cash transactions were a part of daily routines. Pennies were used constantly, which is why finding one in perfect condition today is actually harder than you might think. Collectors today love the 1985 D penny not because it's rare in quantity, but because it represents a time when coin production was massive yet still imperfect. It's a reminder that even in a highly controlled process, small variations can create something unique. There's also a sense of accessibility with this coin. Unlike rare gold coins or ancient currency, the 1985 D penny is something almost anyone can find. It invites people into the world of coin collecting without requiring a huge investment. And for many collectors, that's where the journey begins. Imagine going through a handful of old change and suddenly spotting something unusual. Maybe the lettering looks slightly doubled, or the design seems off-center. That moment of discovery is what keeps collectors searching. It's the idea that something valuable could be hiding in plain sight. And that's really the story of the 1985 D Lincoln penny. On the surface, it's just another coin from a year when billions were made. But beneath that surface, there's a world of detail, variation, and possibility that most people never noticed. So the next time you come across a penny, especially one from 1985 with a small D under the date, take a closer look. Because while most of them may only be worth a cent, a few could be worth much more, and you won't know unless you look carefully. And who knows? The coin you almost ignored today might just be the one that tells a story no one else has discovered yet. Welcome back. Imagine picking up a simple penny from your pocket, something most people would ignore, and realizing it might carry hidden details that collectors quietly search for every day. What if that ordinary-looking 1997 Lincoln penny without a mint mark had more to it than meets the eye? Today, we're diving into the story of the 1997 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of people have handled, yet very few have truly examined. At first glance, it seems like just another piece of small change. But once you understand its background, design, and subtle variations, you begin to see why collectors still pay attention to it. The 1997 Lincoln penny is part of a long-running series that began in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. By 1997, the coin had already been in circulation for nearly a century, making it one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The design had become familiar to generations, featuring Lincoln's profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Now here's where the no mint mark detail becomes important. In 1997, pennies were primarily produced at two major U.S. mint locations, Philadelphia and Denver. Coins struck in Denver carry a small D mint mark, while those from Philadelphia, at that time, typically had no mint mark at all. So when you see a 1997 penny without any letter beneath the date, it means it was minted in Philadelphia. That might sound common, and in many ways it is. Millions of these coins were produced, and they circulated widely across the United States. But even common coins can become valuable under the right conditions, and that's where things get interesting. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. The 1997 Lincoln penny is made mostly of zinc, with a thin copper coating. This composition had been standard since 1982, when rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to change the metal content. The coin weighs about 2.5 grams and has a smooth edge on the front, or obverse. You'll see Abraham Lincoln facing to the right. Above his head is the word Liberty, and in front of him is the year 1997. The phrase "In God We Trust" arches across the top. If there's no mint mark under the date, you're looking at a Philadelphia coin. On the back, or reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is centered, with the words United States of America at the top and 1 cent at the bottom. If you look very closely, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. It's a small detail that many people never notice, so what makes this coin special? After all, if millions were made, why would collectors care? The answer lies in condition, errors, and subtle variations. Most 1997 no-mint mark pennies you find in circulation are worn, scratched, or faded. These are worth only face value. But coins in pristine condition, especially those graded as uncirculated or mint state, can be worth significantly more. Collectors often look for coins that have never been used in everyday transactions. These coins retain their original shine, known as luster, and have sharp, clean details. A 1997 penny in high-grade condition can sell for several dollars, and in some cases even more depending on its quality. But the real excitement comes from error coins. Occasionally, during the minting process, something goes slightly wrong. These mistakes can create unique versions of an otherwise common coin. For the 1997 Lincoln penny, collectors have reported several types of errors. These include off-center strikes, where the design is not perfectly aligned, double dies, where parts of the design appear duplicated due to a misalignment in the die, and die cracks or chips that leave unusual marks on the coin. A genuine double die coin, for example, might show slight doubling in the lettering, especially in words like Liberty or In God We Trust. These are not easy to spot, but when confirmed, they can increase the coin's value dramatically. There have also been cases of broad strike errors, where the coin appears slightly larger or flatter because it was struck without the proper color. These pieces can attract strong interest from collectors who specialize in mint errors. Now let's talk about real value examples. A standard circulated 1997 no-mint mark penny is typically worth 1 cent. But an uncirculated version, especially one graded MS-65 or higher, can sell for anywhere from a few dollars up to $20 or more. Error coins can go even higher. Depending on the type and visibility of the error, some have sold for $50, $100, or more in private sales and auctions. While these are not life-changing amounts, they are impressive for a coin that most people overlook. So how can you tell if your 1997 penny is worth more than face value? Start by examining the condition. Look for a bright, clean surface with minimal scratches. Check the high points of the design, like Lincoln's cheek and the steps of the memorial. If these areas are sharp and not worn down, your coin may be in better condition than average. Next, look closely at the lettering and numbers. Use a magnifying glass if possible. Check for any signs of doubling, unusual spacing, or distortions. These could indicate a mint error. Also pay attention to the color. Some collectors prefer red pennies, which have retained their original copper color. Others are red-brown or brown, depending on how much the surface has aged. Red coins in excellent condition are usually more valuable. When it comes to authenticity, the good news is that 1997 pennies are rarely counterfeited because of their low base value. However, altered coins do exist. For example, someone might try to modify a coin to make it look like an error. That's why it's important to compare your coin with verified examples and, if needed, consult a professional grading service. Here's something many people don't realize. Even though the 1997 penny is modern compared to older coins, it represents a transitional era in coin production. By the late 1990s, the U.S. Mint was using advanced technology, but still faced occasional inconsistencies that led to collectible errors. Another interesting detail is that the Lincoln Memorial design, featured on the reverse of the 1997 penny, was retired just a few years later in 2008. This makes all memorial pennies part of a completed chapter in U.S. coin history. For some collectors, that adds an extra layer of appeal. There's also a psychological factor at play. People love the idea that something small and ordinary could hold hidden value. The 1997 no-mint mark penny fits perfectly into that narrative. It's a reminder that treasure doesn't always look like treasure at first glance. Collectors today appreciate this coin not because it is extremely rare, but because it offers opportunity. It invites you to look closer, to pay attention, and to learn the subtle details that separate an average coin from a collectible one. It also serves as a great entry point for beginners. You don't need a large budget to start collecting pennies. You can begin by searching through your own change, building knowledge, and gradually improving your eye for quality and rarity. And who knows, the next time you come across a 1997 penny without a mint mark, you might pause just a little longer before spending it. You might turn it over, examine the details, and wonder about its journey. Because every coin has a story. It passes through countless hands, travels across cities and states, and quietly witnesses moments of everyday life. And sometimes, if you're paying attention, it reveals something unexpected. So the next time you hear the clink of coins in your pocket, remember this: that simple 1997 Lincoln penny without a mint mark might not make you rich overnight, but it could be the beginning of a deeper curiosity, a small spark that leads you into the fascinating world of coin collecting. And once you start looking closely, you may never see loose change the same way again. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1998, something you might overlook in your pocket or a jar at home, could actually be worth far more than 1 cent? And not because it's made of gold or silver, but because of tiny details most people never even notice. Today, we're talking about the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. It's small, copper-colored, and features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. But behind that simple appearance lies a story that has captured the attention of collectors across the United States. The 1998 Lincoln penny is part of a long-running series that began back in 1909, when the U.S. Mint introduced the Lincoln cent to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1998, this coin had already been in circulation for nearly 90 years, making it one of the most recognized coins in American history. That year, millions upon millions of pennies were produced, and many of them did not carry a mint mark at all. Now here's where things get interesting. A no-mint mark penny simply means the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For many years, the Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on its coins, so the absence of a mark doesn't immediately make the coin rare. In fact, most 1998 pennies without a mint mark are very common. But within this large group, there are hidden variations and errors that can turn an ordinary coin into something much more valuable. The design of the 1998 penny is classic and familiar. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln facing right with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the year 1998 to the right. On the back, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used from 1959 until 2008. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny depiction of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial, making it one of the few coins in the world to show the same person on both sides. In terms of composition, the 1998 penny is made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. This change was introduced in 1982 to reduce production costs, so by 1998, all pennies followed this structure. While the metal itself isn't valuable, the condition and specific details of the coin can make all the difference. One of the most talked about aspects of the 1998 no-mint mark penny is the possibility of mint errors. These errors happen during the production process and can create unique features that collectors actively search for. Among the most famous for this year is the wide AM variety. On the reverse side of the coin, The letters A and M in the word America are spaced farther apart than usual. This small detail is easy to miss, but it can significantly increase the coin's value. Most 1998 pennies actually have what's called a close AM, where the letters are nearly touching. The wide AM version is much less common and is believed to have been the result of using proof dies for regular circulation coins. That mistake created a rare variety that collectors now consider highly desirable. So how much can one of these coins actually be worth? Well, it depends on a few factors. A regular 1998 no-mint mark penny in average circulated condition is still worth just 1 cent. But if you happen to find one in excellent condition, especially one that has never been used in circulation, it could be worth a few dollars to a collector. However, if you discover a 1998 wide AM penny in high-grade condition, the value can jump significantly. Some examples have sold for hundreds of dollars, and in rare cases, even more. Coins that are graded professionally and receive high marks for quality can command impressive prices at auctions. Collectors also pay attention to other types of errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or coins with unusual surface marks caused during minting. While these are less common, they can also increase the coin's value depending on their uniqueness and visibility. If you're wondering how to identify a valuable 1998 no-mint mark penny, the first step is to examine the coin carefully. Look at the back of the coin and focus on the word America. If the A and M are clearly separated, you might have the wide AM variety. Using a magnifying glass or even a smartphone camera can help you see the details more clearly. Next, check the overall condition of the coin. Coins that are shiny, with minimal scratches and strong details, are generally more valuable. Avoid cleaning the coin even if it looks dirty. Cleaning can actually reduce its value because collectors prefer coins in their natural state. Another important step is to weigh the coin. A standard 1998 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If the weight is significantly different, it could indicate a mint error or, in rare cases, a counterfeit. While counterfeit pennies are not very common, it's still a good idea to be cautious if something seems unusual. You might also consider having your coin evaluated by a professional grading service. These organizations specialize in determining the authenticity and condition of coins, and their certification can add credibility and value to your find. Here's something surprising. Even though billions of pennies are produced, collectors continue to search through rolls of coins from banks, hoping to find rare varieties like the 1998 wide AM. This activity, often called coin roll hunting, has become a popular hobby. It's like a treasure hunt where the prize could be hiding in plain sight. Another interesting fact is that many valuable pennies are discovered years after they were minted. People often overlook them because they don't realize what to look for. That means there's still a chance that rare coins are sitting in jars, drawers, or old collections, waiting to be found. So why do collectors love the 1998 no-mint mark penny so much? It's not just about the potential value. It's about the thrill of discovery. Finding a rare variety among ordinary coins creates a sense of excitement that few other hobbies can match. It's also a way to connect with history, even if that history is relatively recent. For many collectors, coins like this represent a perfect balance between accessibility and mystery. You don't need to spend a lot of money to start looking, but the reward can be significant if you know what you're doing. It turns everyday objects into something meaningful and potentially valuable. And there's another layer to it. Coins tell stories. They pass through countless hands, travel across cities and states, and become part of everyday life. A 1998 penny might have been used to buy a piece of candy, dropped on the street, or saved in a child's piggy bank. Each coin has its own journey, even if we never know all the details. As we look at the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, it becomes clear that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes, it's hidden in small details, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Whether it's the spacing of 2 letters or the condition of the surface, these tiny features can transform a simple coin into something extraordinary. So the next time you come across a handful of pennies, take a closer look. That ordinary coin you almost ignored might have a story to tell, and maybe even a surprising value attached to it. Because in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest details can make the biggest difference. And who knows, your next discovery could be just 1 penny away. Welcome back. What if I told you that a simple penny from your pocket a coin most people ignore every single day, could quietly hold a story of history, hidden details, and even unexpected value. Today, we're diving into the 2001 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance but has far more to reveal than most people realize. The 2001 Lincoln penny is part of a long-running series of 1-cent coins in the United States that began back in 1909. By 2001, this coin had already been in circulation for nearly a century, becoming one of the most recognized coins in American history. When we talk about a no-mint mark penny from 2001, we are specifically referring to coins that were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark on pennies for many years. At first, this might sound confusing. Why would a coin have no mint mark at all? In the United States, coins are produced at different facilities such as Denver and Philadelphia. Denver coins carry a D mint mark, while Philadelphia coins often have no mark, especially for pennies during that time. So, a 2001 penny without a mint mark is not an error by default. It simply means it was made in Philadelphia. Now let's go back to the year 2001. This was a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies each year. The economy relied heavily on physical cash, and pennies were still widely used in everyday transactions. The Lincoln penny design, featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the front, had already become a symbol of American heritage and tradition. On the front of the coin, you'll see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of his birth. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, and it remains one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coin history. Around Lincoln's image, you'll find the words "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" to the left, and the year 2001 to the right. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side, a design that was used from 1959 to 2008. If you look very closely, you can even see a tiny depiction of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial, making this one of the few coins in the world to show the same person on both sides. In terms of composition, the 2001 penny is made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. This composition was introduced in 1982 to reduce production costs, as copper became more expensive. So even though the coin looks like solid copper, it's actually a zinc core with a copper outer layer. Now here's where things start to get interesting. While most 2001 no-mint mark pennies are extremely common and worth only their face value, certain variations and errors can make them far more valuable to collectors. One of the most sought-after features in modern pennies is the presence of minting errors. These errors happen during the production process and can include things like double strikes, off-center designs, or die cracks. In some rare cases, a 2001 penny might show signs of doubling in the lettering or numbers, known as a double die error. These coins can catch the attention of collectors because they are not supposed to look that way. Another detail collectors look for is the overall condition of the coin. Coins that have never been used in circulation, known as uncirculated coins, can be worth significantly more than worn ones. A 2001 no-mint mark penny in perfect condition, with sharp details and no scratches, can be graded highly by professional services, increasing its value. So how much is this coin actually worth? For most people, a circulated 2001 penny without a mint mark is worth exactly 1 cent. However, in uncirculated condition, it might sell for a few cents to a couple of dollars. That may not sound like much, but when you start adding rare errors or exceptional quality into the mix, the value can rise quickly. There have been cases where high-grade 2001 pennies, especially those graded MS67 or higher, have sold for over $50 to $100 at auction. Coins with noticeable errors can sometimes reach even higher prices, depending on how unique and visible the error is. This is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Even a coin that was produced in the billions can still have rare versions hiding among them. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, except the needle might be sitting in your coin jar at home. Now let's talk about how you can identify a real 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. First, check the date carefully. It should clearly read 2001, with no mint mark under the date. If you see a D, then it was minted in Denver, not Philadelphia. Next, examine the coin's surface. A genuine coin will have consistent color and texture, even if it's worn. Be cautious of coins that look altered, such as those with added or removed mint marks. Some people try to modify coins to make them appear more valuable, But these altered coins are not considered authentic by collectors. You should also pay attention to weight. A standard 2001 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If the coin feels significantly heavier or lighter, it could be damaged or counterfeit. Using a small digital scale can help you verify this. Magnification is another useful tool. By using a simple magnifying glass, you can inspect the details closely. Look for any unusual features like doubling in the text, cracks, or misalignments. These small details can make a big difference in value. Here's a fun fact that many people don't realize. The Lincoln Memorial design on the back of the penny was the first time a real historical building appeared on a U.S. coin. Before that, most coins featured symbolic designs rather than actual landmarks. And even more interesting, the tiny Lincoln statue inside the memorial can actually be seen with the naked eye if you look closely enough. Another surprising detail is just how many pennies are still in circulation. Despite being one of the least valuable coins, billions of pennies continue to move through the economy every year. This means that coins like the 2001 penny are still out there, waiting to be discovered in everyday change. Collectors love coins like the 2001 no-mint mark penny not because they are all rare, but because they represent possibility. Each coin carries the chance of being something special. It might be in perfect condition, it might have a rare error, or it might simply be part of a complete collection. For many collectors, the thrill comes from the search itself. Going through rolls of pennies, checking each one carefully, and finding that one coin that stands out. It's a hobby that combines history, patience, and a bit of luck. And let's not forget the historical connection. Every 2001 penny has passed through countless hands over the years. It may have been used to buy a cup of coffee, given as change in a store, or saved in a jar for years. Each coin carries a silent story of the people and places it has touched. As we come to the end, here's something to think about. The next time you receive a penny, will you take a closer look? Because hidden in that small piece of metal could be more than just 1 cent. It could be a piece of history, a collector's item, or even a small treasure waiting to be discovered. And that's the beauty of coins like the 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. They remind us that even the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary stories, if we're willing to look a little closer.